and welcome. We are Espace Tricot. I'm Naomi.
I'm Stephanie.
And we are running a KAL, a knit-along with Liner Magazine for our book, Knits from the LYS. So you can find all the details on the KAL in the video caption below, as well as links to the book and all the other patterns. We're going to focus on just a few of our top picks, but you should check out the rest of the selection as well and find all the details on how to participate.
So I think today I thought we could talk about the Embassy Row Vest, which is one of the patterns in the book that's proven to be really popular. A lot of people are saying that's what they'd like to cast on for the KAL.
Along with a lot of our staff too. We have, I think, 2 staff members. One has knit it, one is currently knitting it, and I am going to cast it on.
Yeah, so we have lots of ideas to share with you. But I thought what I'd do is just sort of take you through what this pattern's all about, what it's going to take to knit it, how you might like to wear it.
Perfect.
So I'll start by explaining the construction. I'm wearing it right now. It's a bottom-up piece, so you knit in the round to the armhole, and then you knit the front and the back separately. And then, of course, you have to split for the neckline, both in the front and the back, so there's a period where you've got kind of 4 pieces for the shoulders, and the shoulders are joined up. And then you pick up and knit to add the ribbing, if you want to, because there is a tank version, a summer version, where you don't add any ribbing whatsoever.
Shall I hold it up?
Yeah. So as you can see in the one that I'm wearing, we have this tidy ribbing at the neck and the armholes, and in the one here that's our summer version, there's just slip stitch edges here, so that it's like a much looser fit, a lot more sort of airy and breezy. So I was really interested in the idea of how you could take the same pattern and with different yarn and different finishings, get a really different feeling and result. Yeah. When you're managing the this summer version of it, there are times where you might have 2 slip stitches next to each other, because there's also a slip stitch sort of pattern throughout here. So on certain sizes, those 2 may be right next to each other. So you just want to be cautious when you're managing your tension with it.
Okay, but that is not a mistake. You do slip 2 together sometimes.
Yeah.
You see that in the pattern, it's correct. Yeah. Excellent.
And one of the tips I give in the book about dealing with that is like, look, that could be challenging even for a pretty experienced knitter. So if at the end you've made the whole thing and you don't like how that looks, a really easy fix is to do the pick up and knit around and then either do an I-cord or just immediately cast off. But the nice thing is that because there's this vest version, that pickup ratio, all that information is is for you. You don't have to figure it out.
You would follow the pickup like you would for the rib,
and then just cast off right away.
Cast off right away. Genius.
Yeah, it gives a really nice finish. So,
excellent.
How to wear it? I think that's something people are always wondering. Oh, how does that fit in my wardrobe? So that's one of the reasons I put this on. In the book, you see this version modeled almost like a tank top. It was a warm summer day when we went out to shoot. Why not?
Yeah, our models, Chloe and Sasha, were champions dealing with this, 28-degree day? What was that, 80s in Fahrenheit? Here is Sasha, just looking glorious in it, by the Orange Julep, a must-visit site in Montreal.
Yeah. So in this case, like, Sasha's just wearing this over a bra. You could wear it over, a bralette, a bra, a camisole, a tank, however you like to wear your summer shells, I guess. I also thought it would look great under a little blazer.
Yeah.
Like it has that potential. But then for the vest version with the woolly,
Chloe's also just wearing it as a tank.
As a tank.
And it has that slimmer fit Chloe is wearing it with less ease. And so it has a bit closer of a fit. And if you'd like to take a look at the Ravelry page for this project, there are lots more pictures of how it's worn on each of them to see that fit.
Yeah, and I'm wearing the same one that Chloe wore in the book, and I have a bigger bust than Chloe, so I'm wearing it with negative ease. There's -2 ease here. So it's very stretchy. And this is kind of how I originally envisaged it. It was like over a cute little collared top, that sort of dark academia vibe. I could definitely see this also with like a little tweed blazer. It would be super cute.
Definitely. But then I can see the summer one with kind of like a biker jacket.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So definitely worth noting that this is a relatively high neck. Like this is not a big scoop neck or a V-neck. This is quite high. It's like meant to fit right underneath that collar when you add the ribbing. So if you don't add that ribbing, you're going to get more of a lower neck.
Yeah.
So yarn ideas. I'll start with what we actually use. So this is the winter version or the woolly version, and we used Shetland Spindrift from Jameson of Shetland, and Shopawola Zauberball Crazy, which is a color changing yarn. I'd say these are both fingering weight yarns. This one can kind of go towards sport, but because it is a garter slip stitch, there's a lot of sort of room here to get gauge with different kinds of yarn. You want to make sure that you swatch and be cautious because you start in the round and then you move to flat. So if you have an issue with what's called rowing out, or when you're purling, sometimes it changes. Just be ready and observant. I don't think you necessarily have to swatch both, but just be aware. Your gauge could change a little bit. So that's something I love. I also picked up another colorway as well where you could take it into more blues and greens. Choose something that's going to go with the things in your wardrobe and what you choose to wear. Like if you have a couple of favorite collared shirts, find something that's going to work with what you already love to wear. And then for the summer version, we use this beautiful Brighton Beach color changing yarn. It's a cotton linen blend, and that's what we used in the original. And what I'd recommend to go with it is Knitting for Olive Pure Silk. So one of the things that I was looking for with my colors was actually pretty close between the two, some sort of repetition of one of the color change colors into the main color, because I find that it has this almost holographic effect.
Yeah, it sort of melts together and creates a cohesive fabric compared to like where you want a really strong contrast maybe in color work. This is really aiming for a different kind of fabric.
Yeah, like a little bit low contrast to get almost like a tweedy feel. Like I was really thinking about those kinds of menswear fabrics, or Harris tweed.
It's got that weaving.
Yeah, or herringbone.
Yeah.
So that's why I was really looking at colors where the main color and the color change yarn, which again, you don't have to do the color change, but it was designed to take advantage of that, have something in common enough that occasionally you might have to really keep your eyes open to make sure that you're using the right yarn.
Yeah.
So, Naomi, you were thinking about casting this on.
I am.
What are you thinking of doing?
I love the color change effect. So we don't stock Spincycle yarns. I knit with them very rarely, but they are very special. I really enjoy them. So it's the sort of thing that I end up picking up as a souvenir on vacations. So I picked this up on holiday once, just have the one skein. What do I do with it? So I can use this for the smallest size. Will that be small enough? 35.25.
Yeah, well, that's the one I'm wearing. So,
okay,
yeah.
Size 1?
Yeah.
Awesome. So that will have a couple inches of ease on me. And I am going to pair it, because I love the woolly effect, with Jody Long Alba. Now this is a tweedy yarn, so a little bit more emphasis in the color variation of that tweed than there is in the Jamiesons of Shetland. But it's got, the thing I love about Jody Long Alba is that each of the colors has a different kind of tweedy color effect to really take advantage of the base color.
Closer. Here.
So this one has pale blue running through it, which I think is going to go really nicely with the blues in this skein.
Yeah.
And at the same time, there's enough variance that this pale pink doesn't ever really occur a huge amount in this skein. This is the color Komodo. So that's what I'm doing.
So we each have sort of said to ourselves that it's okay to buy yarn when we're on tour to like commemorate the experience.
Yes, I'll show my souvenir project as well in another video for another project, so keep an eye out.
So yeah, I chose this sort of reddy, orangey, browny thing, and a very, very bold red, because this is, like I was talking about why I was looking at these two, is a color I find I'm using more and more in my wardrobe. So I feel like if I have this in this kind of color, I'm going to pair it with all my favorite sort of plaid shirts that I've been picking up, and it's going to work with my wardrobe. So I have just begun here, and you can see the pattern starting to come through. So this has a little bit more contrast at this moment than I would, suggest, but it's very quickly going to get more and more into this red, and then they'll start to have that sort of holographic effect that I like so much.
And I noticed you started right away into the slip stitch pattern. Are you planning to add the rib?
Yes. So this is an interesting question that I've been asked about this pattern. The way the pattern is written, you start right away just like this, and you would pick up and knit down the rib to this part afterwards. And people are like, really? Why on earth would I do that? Why would I not do the ribbing first and then switch to this? And the truth is, you can absolutely do that. The reason it's written that way is so that you can have these two versions and have the instructions flow and make sense. So that I can say, do this thing for either of them, and for this version, now do this other thing. And if you're doing the summer version, you're finished now. But I also absolutely do knit this way, where I am very impatient and I hate ribbing. And I just wanted to see what the colors were going to look like together. Like, what if I got to this and was like, oh no.
That's a good point.
So I you know, there's different ways of being lazy. The way that I am lazy is that I like to add my ribbing afterwards. And so yeah, I often do that where I just, especially color work, stuff like that, where I'm like just dying to see what it's going to look like. I just get right in there and I'm going to pick up and knit that ribbing later. But if you are not like me, you can absolutely begin with the ribbing. It's the same number of stitches and you can just do your ribbing first and then move into this pattern afterwards. So that's sort of the final section. I just wanted to go over sort of some of the techniques that you'll need to knit this. It doesn't mean you have to have done them before, but I think it's always nice when you know what's coming up. So this is a slip stitch pattern, which means you're going to have your sort of stitches that you're not working. You slip them with the yarn either in front or in back. So understanding what that motion is, it's slipping purlwise, you're not adding any twist to that stitch, and you're carrying the yarn either in front or back of that, and it's really quite important for how this all comes out to understand that. And you do that both in the round and flat. So which way you're holding that yarn can be different depending on whether you're in the round or you're flat. Once you get into it, it becomes quite obvious, but if it's a new thing for you, you're just gonna wanna keep your eyes open. There's knit two togethers and there's purl two together decreases, and some of those are through the back loop, so to allow them to lean left or lean right. If you can't do that, I think that would be fine to skip a purl two together through the back loop for shaping. Like you could just purl two together and get away with it.
It's one of those things, as long as you do it the same way every time, it's not going to particularly show. It's when you have consistency, that's when it's disguised, even if you're doing something a little bit different to how the pattern says.
Yeah, it's just there's a few rows where you're decreasing every row, like on the right side and the wrong side, so you need that purl decrease. Pick up and knit. Pretty standard, but again, not something everyone's done before. This is where you take an existing piece of knitting like this, and you're gonna pick up stitches into it with a new needle and now go knit in another direction. And finally, a 3 needle bind off. So this is where you join your shoulders. You can see it here a little bit. You'll have raw stitches on one side, raw stitches on the other side, both on needles. And you hold them together and you work a bind off through both of them at the same time, and you basically create a seam. So another thing, when you're doing that, make sure that you're holding your right sides together, sort of facing each other, just like with sewing, right? Where you would put the two sides together.
Right side's facing in, wrong side's facing out.
Exactly, so that your seam will be on the inside. That's it. I would say that it's a relatively beginner-friendly pattern. Do be aware there is an errato in terms of the number of stitches in the underarm. It is posted on Ravelry, you can find it there, and if you get your book from us, we include a bookmark that has that flagged for you. But we can't wait to see if you decide to knit the embassy row vest or the tank, how it comes out for you. We're just really looking forward to seeing some of these whips and foes come together.
Yeah, please do tag us in your Instagram photos and posts. Make those Ravelry project pages. We'll be sharing roundups as we go along through our KAL with your projects and whips, and we're really excited to see what you come up with.
Thanks so much.
Happy knitting!